This is Ashley Ferrier here, and I am going to present some of my capstone information that I researched and came up with. This capstone is on the gender equality in physical education class and the effects of grouping our physical education classes by gender or by ability. A little bit about me personally. I graduated from Shadyside High School in 2001. I then went on and went to Oakland University, go Grizzlies, and graduated in 2006. I obtained my Bachelor of Science degree in Education, K through 9, and played 4 years of college basketball. That's kind of where my passion for fitness comes into play. I've been a teacher for 8 years overall. 5 of those years have been spent at Belair Middle School, where I currently am right now. Currently teaching 8th grade math, Algebra 1 class, and physical education, which is the focus of my topic. My passion for this topic: I know that when a person's fitness level improves, their confidence is immediately gained. Being a physical education teacher is very rewarding in a lot of ways. I love to find ways to motivate each and every student. I have a passion for teaching the middle school age level, and with that comes a lot of quirks that they develop, human nature at this age level. I aim to not only teach math, sports skills, fitness, but also to improve each student's confidence and character when they're in this stage of life. Grouping students in physical education could possibly create a better climate for both the boys and the girls. The climate and the lesson creations could be more customized for each of these groupings. I'm just itching to set up my physical education class next year in this way to try it. Teachers must be willing to try some new things to determine which groupings allow for a better overall participation, enjoyment, and success with most students. We must figure out some way to get all students to enjoy being active. After all, their overall health and well-being depend on this. Ideal world, every single student would feel comfortable participating and improving their fitness ability in my physical education class. The reality is that many adolescents, they're insecure while participating in physical fitness. They oftentimes are worried about their body image or their lack of athleticism, and it breaks your heart. This causes some kids to beg out of gym class or not put forth their full effort, and unfortunately they will not make the fitness or the skill gains that they need to make. One possible solution would be to group the physical education classes by gender, by interest, or ability. The purpose of this study here today is to research the articles and to do a review of literature to make a qualitative analysis to determine whether grouping students in physical education would improve their interest and participation in the class. There's a strong focus on the teenage years and especially females. An awesome quote by Cheryl Shakeshaft. She said that some people are going to favor equality of treatment. The student must do Zumba on this day at this time. And if that student does that, and she's a female, then this male student must do that same thing. Equality of the treatment. Other people, however, define gender equality as the equality of outcome. Okay, if this student is going to burn 800 calories today in gym class, then this student burns 800 calories in gym class, but they can do it in different ways that they each would enjoy. So equality of treatment, equality of outcome, two differences there. Which one do you value? Starting with a review of the literature. Congress passed Title IX of the Education Amendments in 1972. This changed the composition of physical education class from being single gender into the co-educational form that many of us use today. Gabby thought that this was logical since females were obviously discriminated against and when they were in those single gender classes back in the day. He also thought that co-ed classes took on that melting pot philosophy where all cultures blend into one. This would mean that one culture must be good for all. This idea goes along with equality of treatment rather than equality of outcome. The great debate. Research has shown that for some students, a co-ed class may not be the most conducive environment for learning. Recently, flexibility has been given to schools by the Department of Education, which allowed for single gender classes. The agreement was that evaluations must be done every 2 to 3 years, ensuring that girls and boys were being treated equally and given the same opportunities. This only allows for more debate on the effects of homogeneous versus heterogeneous groupings in physical education. Females in physical education. Hot topic. In the research, females exhibited a systematic decrease in liking physical education from 6th grade to 8th grade. Kind of a sad thing. Girls do not continue physical activity as long as boys, and those who stick to it hold themselves to very low standards. So it's not very promising for the way adolescent females are feeling towards their physical education classes. A study that interviewed and questioned adolescent girls found that girls in 6th and 7th grades, here's what they want. They want a variety of activities, a feeling of personal competence, and a healthy body. Also that sense of being as important as the boys. Derry 2002 study performed, there were 73 female students as participants and 22 female teachers. And they were all interviewed after being in both a co-ed PE setting and a single PE setting, single gender PE setting. 75% of the girls, 75% of the girls, and 82% of the female teachers said they would prefer to learn and teach in a single-sex physical education class during the girls' middle school years. More on females. Another study that was measured by not only questionnaires, but also the hierarchical physical competence scale found that class type had little effect to male students, but strong effects on female students. Girls in the same gender classes had higher scores in enjoyment and effect, as well as physical competence. The girls in co-ed classes had the lowest scores in these areas. The same study revealed that girls felt that guys would not pass them the ball, or that they weren't good enough. Girls did not like getting ridiculed by the boys, and I see that happen a lot. Girls enjoyed single-sex classes because they could relax. They could enjoy learning the skills at their own pace while feeling comfortable doing so. Females in single-sex classes spent 47.3% more time engaged in learning skills and actively participating than in the co-ed classroom. Females interacted more with each other in the single-sex setting. The females felt more comfortable and less inferior with strictly other females. Boys were not able to dominate the PE classes and the teacher's time, as the boys sometimes do. Teachers spent less time on management and more time on learning skills and being engaged in the single-gender composition. Real teachers who are in the buildings teaching physical education on a day-to-day basis, how do they feel? Derry found that it wasn't just girls influenced by co-ed environment. Many teachers believed that boys had to hold back in the co-ed setting. Some teachers argue that co-ed classes caused the curriculum to be, quote-unquote, watered down. Isabel Kindman, a PE teacher, stated that valuable time is lost, scheduling is extremely difficult, classes are grossly imbalanced in terms of gender. Girls don't fuss, and therefore the boys are, the squeaky wheel, and they get the activities that they want. Jeanette Ryan agreed, as a 25-year junior high physical education teacher, I wish one trend that would return is separate sex physical education classes. Girls who are tentative in some activities have more success in the all-girls setting. Boys have a tendency to put win-win-win pressure on the girls during activities. James Walsh, another PE instructor, stated, sometimes one has to push psychosocial theory aside and do a reality check. Virtually all other aspects of public school are coeducational. What proven deterrent would there be in having two separate physical education classes? The health and benefits are greater, more intense participation outweigh any of the possible harm. Rosalie Headland, chair of the Physical Education Department of Ottawa University, not a physical education teacher, just the chair of the education department. She stated, students may learn that it is inappropriate for males and females to play together. So that's kind of, one of the negatives. They will be denied the opportunity to learn to interact appropriately with members of the opposite sex. So some people might view it that way. Once again, that's not somebody actually in the classroom. There were a few other professionals who voiced these same opinions, agreeing with Headland. Interestingly, the people who spoke in favor of the co-ed physical education setting were all university or college professors. Their reasons included A, the male and female social interactions. You're losing out on that. B, appreciation of the opposite gender. Or C, gender doesn't control sports outcomes. Several specific studies, one field experiment consisted of middle school students and high school students who were organized separately in co-ed classes as well as single-sex classes. Each class was taught the same 10 basketball lessons, and 3 self-perception variables were measured. Laird went on to comment that in education, the gender makeup of the class may have a profound influence on the students' social comparisons, their self-confidence, and ultimately their performance. Boys comparing themselves to others in a co-ed class gave them higher self-confidence. Boys comparing themselves to other boys in the single-gender class had a lower perceived self-confidence. So when you're measuring yourself against better people, obviously your confidence isn't as high as if you're measuring yourself against someone you can beat every day. The girls' confidence difference in co-ed classes versus same-sex was not significant in this study. At the end of the 10 basketball lessons, students were asked about their preferences. In general, high school students preferred co-ed classes, whereas the middle school students, they preferred the same-sex classes. So that goes back to that kind of maturity and that age of middle school kids. Lear, 1993, realized that the early adolescence is a time when boys' and girls' bodies are changing physically, and perhaps the inclusion of the opposite sex in a class where these changes might be noticeable make things a little bit awkward for some kids. Hill and Clevin performed a survey to determine which activities ninth graders felt should be offered in co-ed or single-gender physical education classes. 22 classes in 6 different high schools participated in this study. The activities that were preferred by a majority of the boys, but much less the majority of the girls, were the weight training and the hockey. The majority of the girls voted for swimming, volleyball, aerobics, dance, jump rope, and gymnastics. Once again, the way you're burning calories and the way you're learning to love activity doesn't matter exactly what you're doing. It was interesting to note that over half, 60.5% to be exact, of the boys considered PE one of their favorite classes, and only 38.8% of the girls enjoyed PE to this degree. In this study, the majority of the students felt that all the activities should be offered co-educational settings, with the lowest percentage being for football. Team building through physical challenges, TBPC. Gibbons and Ebick did a recent study to determine if students showed any advantages after participating in TBPC in the same-sex setting. Gibbons and Ebick described TBPC program as having a series of 20 group problem-solving tasks in PE. They went on to say that typically participants work in small groups on physically challenging tasks that require elements of trust, communication, cooperation, and risk. The research had previously shown that female students in co-education environments were advantaged in the past using this TBPC. They wondered if it would be the same for the gender-segregated classes, or the same sex. The answer was yes. Not only were female segregated students showing improvement, but segregated males were also. This program sounds like something super neat and different that students would enjoy doing, and it's backed by research. Single gender groupings within a co-ed physical education. So can we have co-ed classes but still do some of the lessons with a single gender? Gabby asked, can teachers legally use occasional gender groupings within the co-ed physical education class to benefit everybody? A fairly recent study by Singerlin applied a single gender grouping strategy in a co-ed physical education class. Each class experienced the same 2 basketball lessons. The first lesson only involved basketball games with mixed genders, whereas the second lesson only involved single gender teams. Basketball was chosen because there is competitive gameplay as well as evident motor skills and strength that are required for that sport. The results showed that playing in the single gender teams increased girls' perceived competence levels and they decreased their perception of competitiveness. The heart rate monitors that were on the students showed that physical activity levels did not change during the single gender co-ed gender games. This study proved that during invasive games, it could be beneficial to change the grouping strategy. All right, benefits and negative outlooks. Ability grouping. So this is not gender grouping anymore. Would there be benefits in ability grouping? Okay. Benefits are the safety of the students. If you're playing contact sports or team sports especially, the safety of the students to be with the same ability levels comes into play. It provides an efficient and effective means of individualized instruction. And it can create an environment that's less intimidating for students that are maybe at the lower level skills. Negative outlooks of doing this, ability grouping. Students who are put into the less able groups might be less motivated because they're separated from students who can. Lower level students don't have an exemplary models to watch. Some of those lower levels, they need to see how it's done right, so they don't have those exemplary models. And separating the students doesn't give an accurate reflection of society. We need to learn how to be in society with a lot of levels. Options for grouping viability. Fletcher 2008 believed that consideration must be given to how the groups will be determined. One option is working in small mixed groups or pairs. Another option is allowing the students to choose their own level of entry for the skill that's being taught. So each skill that you do, each different lesson, students would choose where they think they fall. The importance of differentiated instruction. Ellis, Lieberman, and LaRoe advise the great teachers to get to know the abilities of all their students. That's huge. By differentiating instruction, students will be set up for success and are taught their strengths. Goodwin implies that this may not be the easiest answer for teachers, but it would be the right one. Okay? Some things that aren't easy, or some things that are tough, may be the right thing to do. Goodwin made a nice point when stating that it's much easier to make one lesson plan every day than teach the same content 4 different ways. But once again, that's easier, not necessarily beneficial to the students. He continues with the fact that we could not accept easy as an option in physical education because the result of our failure means a less active lifestyle for our students. All right, my study. So what did I choose to do? My 2016-2017 next year physical education class, the grouping that I want to do. My participants will be the Belair Middle School students, 7th and 8th grade, in next school year, 2016-2017. 1 8th grade boy and 1 8th grade girl from each of the 3 ability level groups. That's 6 kids. 1 7th grade boy and 1 7th grade girl from each of the 3 ability level groups. This will be done throughout an entire year physical education class. This allows for a different class to participate each 9-week session. So 4 total 7th grade classes and 4 total 8th grade classes. Okay? That is a total of 48 kids participating in the questionnaire after their PE experience. The methodology behind my study. This is going to be experimental procedure and then the questionnaire survey. 7th and 8th grade have PE class together at our school, at Belair Middle School. And my husband and I happen to be the teachers for the 7th grade and the 8th grade classes. So we can really collaborate to make this study happen. Each 9 weeks, we'll spend 3 weeks in a co-ed setting, as usual, and 3 weeks in a single-sex setting, with Mr. Ferrier, my husband, taking the boys and myself taking the girls. We'd be splitting the time between the gymnasium, outside if warm enough, and the fitness room. We'd also spend 3 weeks out of the 9 in ability level groups, doing stations in the gym and in the fitness room where all the students can be observed by the 2 of us teachers. The 12 students will answer a questionnaire at the end of the 9 weeks. This questionnaire will consist of open-ended and closed-ended forms of questions. Questionnaire. Would you take PE class as an elective if you had a choice? What do you like about PE? What do you not like about PE? Are you active outside of PE class? What activity do you like to do outside of school? Is this your first PE class that you've been grouped by gender? How do you feel about the grouped sections? How did you feel about the first 3 weeks in the co-ed setting, the second 3 weeks in the single-sex setting, and the last 3 weeks being ability grouped? How did your feelings change in each of those different groupings? Was it more comfortable? Was it easier to learn? So these kinds of questions are asking those 48 students about how they felt and what their observations were. Then I also have my husband and I observing kids. And when you've been working with middle school children, it's pretty easy to observe the ways they're feeling or the gains that they're making or the losses that they're making. So you can read through those 15 questions. That would be my questionnaire. Possible research conclusions. After we gather all these questionnaires, after we go through all of these 48 students' answers, what did it all come out as? Was this beneficial to any students? Which way did they feel the most comfortable and the most successful? Are there any instruction planning advantages to having students grouped by gender or grouped by ability? What are the students' opinions? Is there conclusive evidence that single gender groupings allow females to feel more comfortable and receive more physical activity in gym class? Which organizational method allowed for more skill instruction? Which organizational method allowed for a more competitive atmosphere? Which organizational method promoted positive peer encouragement and confidence? That's huge for these 7th and 8th graders. How can they get along? And then I listed my references. And there were a lot of references where I got my studies from, my literature review, and also maybe some ideas that came to my mind to help me, that helped inspire me to do my own methodology and the study that I'm going to carry out next year. So I hope you all learned something kind of about the literature that's out there on grouping by gender or grouping by ability. I'm very excited to perform my study next year, and you can always email me or check back in. My email is on my poster that's submitted, and see how this study is going to go for my 7th and 8th grade kids at Belair. Thank you for tuning in, and good luck the rest of your semester. Thanks.